Last year, we bottled this game. This year, if we lose it against championship opposition, I don't know what I'll do. It's the FA Cup final. It's the end of season number 9. Let's run the intro and get straight into things. Yes, folks, how is it going? And a warm welcome back. It's Wanderers. It's episode number 71. Like I said, it's the end of the season, and to end things to kick off at least today, we do have the final game of the Premier League season. Of course, a top 5 finish will be Champions League football due to the coefficients and stuff. Right now, we sit in 5th. We need to not bottle it on the final day. Now, since last episode, which, let's be honest, we're going to try and move on from and forget against Dortmund, we have played a few games in the league, as well as, of course, the FA Cup semi-final. We're taking on championship opposition in Sheffield United. And I'll tell you what, boy, we made it difficult for ourselves. We win the game 2-1 in the end, but you can see here, Marcus Sheldon sent off in the 33rd minute. Despite that, we did score a goal whilst down a man. Rashid Mohammed, not for the first time this year, coming up and being the hero. He is a player who at the start of the year, I could have maybe told you I'd be looking to sell this summer just to try and cash in on him. Based on his contributions this year, he's definitely not going anywhere. As for league form, it's been a little bit hit and miss actually in these last few games during the year. A couple of draws, this one perhaps not entirely surprising against Liverpool. Came back from 2 goals down to get a point here, which felt pretty good all in all. Unsurprisingly, Seiko Mara scored against me again. He always scores against me. And whilst the draw here wasn't exactly ideal, it did keep us ahead of Liverpool on goal difference, which was kind of useful to have in our back pocket. From there, we managed to beat West Ham rather emphatically 4-0 in the league. They've had a really good season upon their return to the Premier League this year, so this was a pleasing one. What perhaps was less pleasing was this game against Fulham. Again, finishing just lacking in this game. It finished 1-1. Gavin Wallace got a goal for us. They got a goal back, and we just didn't really find a breakthrough. Fulham were much better in the second half. The good news is, though, most recently we got a really emphatic win. 5-1 against Leeds. Andy White back from that torn muscle that's kept him out for a long old time and back in the goal scoring. 15 goals in 24 Premier League games this year. 5 assists as well. When he's been fit, he has been absolutely top draw for us. And well, it's off the back of that win against Leeds that we now find ourselves in 5th place. Liverpool have really been struggling as of late. If we look at things here, they actually lost to Arsenal in the penultimate fixture of their season. 3-0 against a team top of the Premier League. Maybe not all that surprising. If I want to find a crumb of comfort today, albeit we are playing Brentford and we should be beating Brentford, Liverpool are playing hosts to Manchester United, so there is a distinct possibility they could slip up there. Nevertheless, you know what? If we want Champions League football, we absolutely have to beat a team like Brentford down in 15th. Now, last year, of course, we also finished 5th place. On that occasion, we scored, 77 points. This year, 69 points. So maybe a little bit of a regression in terms of overall performance this year. But what I would kind of attribute that to is the fact that, of course, this year we have had that distraction of Champions League football. I always feel like that first season where you enter European football, the squad is going to be tested. It's going to be stretched thin. All in all, I do feel like we've passed that test relatively well. I think strength in depth is just something that we need to continue to work on for the next season or two. You can see Caleb Anton has played 52 games for us. Brian Henderson, actually, the second most games played. He's played 50 games. If he features in these final 2, which I'd expect him to, he will play 52 games for the year. And perhaps it's just that fixture congestion that has meant, we've slowed down a little bit when it comes to league games. Saying all of that, though, we are in a really good position going into this final game. We do have the Coventry FA Cup final to follow. That is a game I expect us to win, as, of course, I expect us to win that one. We're going to take it one game at a time today. Of course, not getting Champions League football today would be nothing short of a disaster. And there has been times over the course this year where in games where you think, yeah, we're going to win that one, we've somehow managed to balls it up. Gonna hope that doesn't happen today. In terms of team selection, we're pretty much at full strength, which is really pleasing to be able to say as we hit this end of season run-in. Andy White up top alongside Rashid Mohammed and also Sheldon. You can see between them, all 3 of these strikers have over 20 goals to their name. And in fact, Bernard Brennan also has 20 goals to his name too. So goal scoring wise, I'm going to hope we're going to be fine today. To be honest, the ongoing problem this year has been we are very capable of scoring 5 or 6 in one game, and then in another game, we just fail to find a breakthrough. In a weird way, I feel like over the summer, part of what I need to work on is basically a plan B, a system I can pivot to in games where I just need to try a different approach, where it's clear the free strikers isn't working for whatever reason. I've tried to figure out, is there a trend to when the free strikers aren't working? And to be honest, I haven't been able to spot anything yet. Maybe that's something I can deep dive into the off-season. But for now, We're going to stick with what we know. At the bottom of the table, you might have noticed Southampton and Wolves have been relegated. There's a bit of a battle at the bottom of the table still ongoing, though. In terms of the teams that could be relegated, Hull, Leicester, Leeds, the three kind of possibilities there. Brentford are safe. They've got nothing to play for. Hopefully they won't try against us today. I have been casting as well half an eye at Wolverhampton Wanderers. They are, well, destined to be relegated down to the Championship. They've got some very, very good players that I'd like to look at. You might remember there was a young Wolves striker. He has a relegation release clause. Yeah, as soon as the budgets get set, I might be spending some money on him. Although I did bring in Steele already, didn't I? Can you have such thing as too many wonderkid English strikers? I think the answer is debatably not, especially because so far in this game, we've not scored a goal, we've not found a breakthrough, and while we're 25 minutes into this game, maybe I shouldn't count my chickens before they hatch. Because if we were to lose this game, there's a possibility we won't have Champions League football. What are we doing here? What are we doing? I'm going to encourage the players. This is not a good performance so far. Hickey on the far side to throw it inside. Firmin with the ball for now. Them now is going to whip it in. Headed away half-heartedly. Wallace is going to need to get this away from danger if he can. He plays it down the line to Sheldon, who holds up the play nicely to Flood. He's going to step out from the back. Lay it to Hatswell. Options right. Rashid Mohammed, White, Ajaria. There's a few players queuing up in the middle here. The right back. Well, he decided to go on his own. And I almost don't blame him. He's scored a fair few goals this year. In fact, speaking of Ajaria, hopefully they don't score while I talk about this. Ajaria, I believe, is 1 or 2 assists away from setting a new club record. I'd love him to hit that. The previous record holder is actually dated back to when we were in the non-league. In the National League, we played significantly more games. Of course, more matches played. Now we're in European competitions. I'd love it if Ajaria could kind of cement himself into Wanderers history with, I think it's 24 assists is the current record, which he's got to try and beat. I believe he's 1 away from it at the moment. Of course, if he's going to get assists, we need to start scoring goals. And right now, Brentford look like the more likely team to do it. Maximovic is bringing the ball forward here. Pulls it to the edge of the box. Kanate, Maximovic shoots just wide. I'm not enjoying this game. I'm looking at the team here thinking, what could I actually do to remedy things here? And I actually think the most logical thing to do might be to switch to have 2 inside forwards rather than strikers, just to help with their overlapping wing backs. One set of instructions I really like on inside forwards this year is sit narrower and roam from position, especially if there's a big gap in the middle. Really nice combination of individual instructions we're going to use. I mean, in many ways, I'm surprised I've not made a change like this sooner, but in this game so far, we're just not really dealing with the wide threat all that well. I'll tell you what, elsewhere, I am just going to tell the players specifically to mark the wing backs, because they are the people causing us issues right now, and in fact, going to tell Mohammed and White also to just mark them tighter. Hopefully Sheldon isn't going to get too isolated in the middle. We'll keep a close eye on that, but we're not really creating a great deal in this game. I feel like I need to come up with a plan B. This might be the plan B that I've been looking for. It's not delivered anything as we hit half-time. Going to tell the players that I'm far from pleased. Good fired-up reaction. Not going to overcomplicate things here. We've made some changes. They're playing with these inverted fullbacks and inverted wingers, and they're really just causing issues in those wider areas with all these underlapping players. Hoping that in moving our strikers wider, there might be a little bit of space for them to exploit. Saying all of that, we're half an hour away from this game finishing. Nothing has happened. It's worth noting that Liverpool are still drawing in their game against Manchester United. If they draw, a draw would be enough for us. Elsewhere, Man City, who are above us, are 5-0 up. They're not slipping up in this game. In terms of changes, I'm going to bring in Bernard Brennan through the middle. I mentioned his goal scoring. He's been really, really good for that this year. Elsewhere, I think in the midfield, I just want to inject some fresh legs. McHugh and Flood, are going to swap here, and Kobe Mainoo's going to come in as well. I'll tell you what, I'm going attacking it. I need a goal. I feel like I can't play scared and play for a draw. The other thing to note here is even if we lose this game, if Liverpool draw, that would still actually mean we finish ahead of them on goal difference. So with that in mind, there's actually no reason not to really try and go for the win here. Doesn't really change the overall complexion of things. Although, Brentford have a corner. That was scary, wasn't it? Anson collects it. And now we need to look to try and make something happen if we can. Anson rolls out to Henderson. I felt like the corner was going to be the highlight, but maybe it's not. Maybe there is more to this tale than what we've seen. Ajaria, Mohammed plays it forward. Brennan is hacked down. Is that a professional foul? It's a long way from goal. It's actually a professional foul. That is a rare sight in Football Manager. They've gone down a man. They've dropped their centre attack in mid. We have to go for this game now. I'm actually going to move our 2 players that we move back forward now. Pressing forward on attack. Pressing forward on attack as well, I think, on the right-hand side. In possession now. Let's look to make some space and make some room through the middle. They've got a big gap there all of a sudden without a centre attacking mid. And we need a goal still. A draw might not be enough. I want to keep this destiny in our own hands if we can. Ajaria, McHugh, goes all the way back to Ashley Phillips. At this point, 3 centre-backs feels a little redundant, but Brennan finds himself in space. He scores. I think it's offside. I saw the linesman's flag raised in the bottom corner. Football Manager, you're not going to fool me today. I mean, if nothing else, it's a promising sign. We're starting to create stuff. I'm wondering how close this was to being offside, in all honesty. McHugh played in Brennan. Wasn't even close. If nothing else, it's good to see lots of highlights. We need highlights. We need heroes. We need goals. McHugh, could you deliver? He goes back to Henderson at the back. Henderson can play centre mid. There's a world in which I'm starting to move him into the midfield more as we get desperate here. Gavin Wallace is on the overlap. There's players in the middle. He skips past his man with blistering pace. Squares it. It falls to Kobe Mainoo, who scores. There's another VAR check. Are we about to have 2 goals ruled out in the space of 2 minutes because of VAR? The check's going to happen. Is the goal going to count? It is going to count. The Mainoo signing in January looked like it could have been an error. He might have just popped up with the most important goal all season. It's not been a convincing performance, this one. It should hopefully be enough now, though, to secure us the finish that we need. I need to fix the tactic, don't I? I was about to say I need to fix the tactic and move everyone back. The game has instantly started a new highlight, so I guess we're just going to watch this highlight and hope they don't score immediately. Henderson has the ball. We've looked dominant ever since the sending off, creating abundance of chances. To create another wouldn't exactly be a surprise. Andy White, not with the best ball forward. Barrera. Bustos now with it, giving it all the way back to Ramsdale. Brentford, down a goal with nothing to play for and down a man. Why would they want to attack? Why would they want to do anything? Why can't they just give up? Kanate's bringing it forward. Anson makes a save. I don't even think it was going in. I need to fix the tactics. Some might view this as cowardly. I'm actually tempted to go to kind of our more traditionally defensive shape just to try and see out this game. Andy White has had a good game. Rashid Mohammed has struggled in this one. I'm going to bring in Nicky Meredith at centre attack in mid. And you know what? At this point, I don't really care if we're a bit conservative and a bit defensive here. I'm doing what we need to make sure we get a top 5 finish. The sending off really has changed this game. To be honest, Brentford had us on the back foot, but since then, we have been in complete control. We've got our goal. We've pressed home our man advantage, and well, another goal here would surely seal the deal. Mainoo already has one. He cuts inside. He's dispossessed, but he battles well to get it back. Ajaria in the wide area. Can he put it on a plate? That Andy White, of course he can. It's the 25th goal of the year. It's the vice-captain linking up with the captain. 2 players who came through our earlier youth intakes. And well, they are now doing it on the big stage for Wanderers FC. Thought maybe they dealt with the initial danger, but Ajaria kept the play alive, skipped past his man, put it on a plate. I mentioned that 25 assists for the record outright. I think it's Sammy Robinson from season 1 who holds the record. And well, with that assist there, he moves 1 assist away from holding it outright. And of course, there is still the FA Cup final to play today where he could break that record. They have just scored. There is a VAR check here. Do I start to panic with 7 minutes of added time if they score now with 7 minutes left? There's a VAR review. Is it going to count? No. Okay, you know what? That makes this last bit of the game a little less stressful. 2 minutes of added time. They're going to come and go. That is a win for us. Ajaria, man of the match. Not for the first time, coming up as the hero. And in fact, I think I might need to take it all back. I think that's actually 25 assists for him now in all competitions this year. He might have the record. And you can see here, we have cemented ourselves a 5th place finish. Liverpool actually drew, you can see here on the final game of the year. So Bosley sent off having a hissy fit. Elsewhere, Chelsea having a really disappointing season. Yet again, they finished 20 points behind us. Elsewhere, Aston Villa, who missed out on the title last year by goal difference, finished down in 12th. That's what having to play Champions League football can do to a squad that's not ready for it. As you can see here, we have officially qualified for the Europa League and been given £30 million. But as we established last year, there's of course the bonus 2 spots to the top 2 ranked nations based on European coefficient. And unsurprisingly, as seems to always be the case in Football Manager, England are the highest scoring. So we will be getting that extra spot in the Champions League for finishing 5th, much like last year, and much like every 5th place team for the entirety of history in this save game has for the whole save. Yeah, it's just an annual thing. Anyway, saying all of that, and as happy as I am with that performance, that is far from the end of today's episode, folks, because we've got one last game to do. It is against Coventry. It's the FA Cup final. I have just noticed here on the final game of the year, Arsenal. Did Arsenal go ahead of Tottenham on the last day of the season? Oh, no. Okay, Arsenal drew, Tottenham won. For some reason, I thought Tottenham were ahead, and I thought it'd be very Spursy to bottle it. In the end, 3 goals was the difference. 2 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Is it 2 years in a row? Arsenal have won the Premier League on goal difference. Before that, it was Man City. I mean, Arsenal fans like to live life on the edge, it turns out, but they've won it twice in a row. However, one thing Arsenal won't be doing is, like last year when they beat us in the final, playing in that FA Cup final. It is going to be ourselves versus Coventry. They finished top of the Championship. We're not going to underestimate them. That game is a little under a week away. Do not go anywhere. I'll level with you. I was absolutely shocked when I saw this. Gavin Wallace has been named Football Writers Footballer of the Year. He also won PFA Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year. He only played in 26 of 38 league games. He got 11 assists and 11 clean sheets in those games. He actually somehow got the highest average rating in the league. I feel like that massively jumped up actually at the end of the year. You can see he had this really good run of 5 games at the end of the season. And if we look at the Premier League stats, he actually ended up with the highest rating ahead of Rashid Mohammed and Andy White. So yeah, Gavin Wallace, best footballer in England. I feel like Ajaria might feel robbed, although he did get most assists. And when you look at the team of the year, there's 2 names that kind of stand out. Gavin Wallace and also Josh Sargent. Yeah, Josh Sargent for Hull got 20 goals in the Premier League, which if we just look at things here, made him the top goal scorer in the competition, despite the fact that Hull avoided relegation on goal difference. This guy literally single-handedly kept Hull up. And on top of that, you might have spotted this at the bottom, Wolves lost. Well, they didn't lose. They got relegated. They finished bottom of the table. They just won the Europa League final. I didn't even realise they got to the Europa League final, which means next season they're playing Championship football and Champions League football, which is just the most absurd combination of things ever. I mean, here I am eyeing up some of their players. I'm looking at Jamie Pearson here. He's the 19-year-old you might remember we looked at. Release clause active. £36 million? I feel like he might be a player worth signing, even if I don't necessarily need strikers right now. But at the moment, at least, our budgets haven't actually been set for the year, because, of course, we've got a cup final to play, and we're still awaiting official confirmation that we will be a Champions League team next year. Anyway, that's you all caught up and goings on over the last week. Yeah, weird little end to the season with lots of stuff going on. Coventry, who we played today, as I've already mentioned, won the Championship. Of course, they were only relegated from the Premier League last year. Their key player is Aaron Stevens, who's a good player, although I will say when I look at him, I feel like we've got better players than him. You might have spotted as well, Stevens has caps for England, just on the England national team front here. Look how many Wanderers players are playing for the England squad. 7 players in the current England squad are our own. That gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling inside. Now, in terms of team news for today's game, unfortunately, Marcus Sheldon was sent off in the FA Cup semi-final, so he's unavailable for the final today. It means Andy White is going to move wide into the pressing forward area. Bernard Brennan is going to play through the middle. Besides that, though, full strength team, fully rested. Last year, we lost an FA Cup final where we weren't the favourites. We are absolutely the favourites for this one. If we don't win it, I will consider it a bottling. Well, last year we lost 2 cup finals. I can't keep losing cup finals. Like this is like a softball. It's an underhand throw to us to just knock it out for a home run or something. This should just be the most simple cup final ever. Like if there's a game that I expect us to win, it's absolutely this one, even if it is a big occasion. I just have to hope we're going to live up to those expectations I have, as Andy White has a sensational effort saved by the keeper. Coventry are playing a fairly conventional 4-4-2. I feel like with how our system plays between the lines, how fluid it is, the pressing forward and complete forwards dropping deep, the Regista roaming, the Segundo Volante getting forward, there should be loads of space for us to operate in, and I suppose we're seeing that here as we knock the ball around and just try and pull Coventry out of shape. That's a great ball forward. Rashid Mohammed shoots. Rashid Mohammed scores. It's his 23rd of the season. I think it might have deflected in, but we do not care. Carl Flood, I think it was here, at Regista, picked out an absolutely stupendous first-time chip-through ball. Rashid Mohammed, one-touch shot. It did deflect in. Doesn't matter. It's in the back of the net. That's all we care about. 20 minutes into this game, we are having, well, even possession with Coventry, but the good news is when we have the ball, we're creating significantly more. They've not yet had a shot in this game, which I feel like has to bode quite well. Set piece. I'd love us to score a set piece. Let's try and put this game beyond doubt. The near post corner dealt with, but Wallace is going to try and keep it alive. Crosses it in. It's half cleared. Only as far as Phillips, though. Henderson, wide to Wallace. He's the player of the year for a reason. He's been hacked down there in the box, but Ikenna judged to have won the ball. And now the right back looking to get it away from danger for Coventry. They've not created much, but it only takes one opportunity to score. Andy White wins it back superbly. Rashid Mohammed gives it back to Ashley Phillips here. And now we're looking to pass and move Hatswell back to Phillips. Nice build-up play here. Patient, just trying to pull them out of shape and out of position. Bit of space maybe on the left-hand side if we want to try and operate in it. Ajaria, options forward, dinks it. That was an ambitious ball. Didn't quite work out, but he wins the second ball. Rashid Mohammed shoots. Wasn't far over. 1 minute of added time at the end of this first half. Not a load of chances in this game. That's kind of fine by me. We are doing enough right now. Gonna tell the players I'm delighted. Corner, Andy White. This would be a great way to start the second half. Phillips is under it. And he hits the crossbar there. Already thinking about making some changes. Maybe it's because I know we're playing against a team that are weaker on paper, but I'm much more inclined in a game like this to take off players who are underperforming, simply to bring on some fresher legs of lower quality. I'm going to bring in Steele, the youngster we picked up in January. I won't pretend he's made a big splash on the first team, but at least he's showing really promising signs of development, the 19-year-old. Elsewhere, going to bring in Nicky Meredith here, a big meaty man in the middle for us to maybe aim for. I'm looking at the rest of the team here. Gavin Wallace hasn't had the best of games. We'll sub him off. And Dorrington, to be honest, is struggling a bit at the back. I'm going to shuffle around the defence and bring in Arian B. I think it's testament to the strength and depth that we built this year ahead of the Champions League campaign, that with these subs, I don't necessarily feel like we're compromising the overall strength of the team. There's only 18 minutes left of this game. They've gone to a 4-2-4. They are now throwing men forward. It's going to leave them, I think, open in the midfield. A few more passing lanes maybe to try and pick out our strikers. But equally, we have to be a little bit wary here. Really can't afford to underestimate Coventry. They're going to go for it now. They've not really got much to lose. We've seen through their championship season, they're a team capable of grinding out wins. And while Kenna finds himself in space, and but for that atrocious finish, I was starting to panic. Anson with the ball plays it forward to Arian B. He's going to step forward with it. The left centre-back to Lloyd Weston. Steele now has it. Options on the right. Ajaria is one of them. He's been a provider on a number of occasions this year. Could he turn provider again? There's so many players in black in the middle to aim for. He can't pick out any of them. And all of a sudden, do we have to fear the counter-attack? Hatswell, oh my word. What a tackle that is. It falls straight to Fujita though. With a green headband, he's running forward. Braybrook has it. He shoots. Oh my word. My whole life flashed before my eyes. Coventry are just not giving this up. I need a goal to make this comfortable. One goal. It's a one-goal game. It's not nice, is it? Flood. Henderson. Can we make something again? Knocking the ball around like we tend to. When we have these nice bits of build-up, it often results in really pretty goals. Can we deliver one here? Lloyd Weston, back post. Ajaria was lurking. He still gets there. Hatswell can score bangers, can't on this occasion. And now Coventry are surging forward with players. Lopez, dispossessed by Lloyd Weston, does well, but Goodmanson now gives it to Akenna. Bassett is in behind. And I thought Hansen had saved it. He didn't even get a hand on it. The striker just fluffed it up. There's 4 minutes of added time. This has not been the kind of FA Cup final I imagined it was going to be, but mercifully, we're going to get away with it. Anson made some big saves. We didn't look amazing going forward, but you know what? I don't care. This club last won an FA Cup over 150 years ago. When we started this save game, I didn't know where we could possibly end up, given the timeline ahead of FM25. No matter what, we can say we reinstated FA Cup glory here at Wanderers. A competition once won 3 years in a row, and we win it for the first time in a century and a half. Oh, the confetti falls. There's tears in my eyes. Not literally. Oh, I mean, we can just end the save game now, can't we? Just to be clear, this save game definitely has at least one more season left in it. Of course, FM25 is on the horizon. I want to have one more year to win the Premier League, win the Champions League, and next season, the mission is going to be all about trying to do that double. I'll be honest, there's a little bit of a gap between 1878 and 2032, but I hope for the Wanderers fans who have been patient, albeit they're mostly dead now, probably from the beginning, I hope it was worth the wait. I do feel a bit bad for Coventry. They were considered the biggest overachievers. If they'd won the FA Cup, they could have had European football. As things stand, though, it's not a fairy tale. They don't get their happy ending. Instead, we get to enjoy our time. Well, you can see here, the African 11 of the year, Rashid Mohammed's in it. That was a random thing to pop up in my inbox at this time, but well done, Rashid. He also won Footballer of the Year in the whole of Africa. You'll love to see that. Now, looking at the overall balance, because of the Premier League prize money, £40 million. If I'm not mistaken, we should get a little bit more money from the Champions League and competing in it as well towards the end of the year. Of course, in terms of our actual budgets for the upcoming year, they've not been set yet because we're still awaiting, I was going to say official promotion to the Champions League. That isn't needed. The budgets have been set. I'm not going to lie, I was hoping for a little bit more. 40 million, 1.5 million pound wages. Could be worse. Of course, because we're still playing at Brisbane Road this year, we've not been able to make all that much money. That will hopefully change next year, as finally, after a long time, lots of achievements, there's going to be a new event popping up here, and it's going to be us moving into our new stadium. That is due to happen in a month. That will probably be happening next episode. 24,600 seater. That's going to mean a bit more money for us over the year. I mean, if we look at things here, our highest gate receipts were when we took on Dortmund in the Champions League quarter-final. That game was a sellout at 9,200 fans. The new ground is going to hold 26,000 fans, which is a little shy of, well, 3 times more than what we hold now. So I'm hoping that maybe next year we'll be having gate receipts near £1 million per game. That will make, obviously, a massive difference when you times that by the number of games we play in a year, albeit we probably won't be charging as much as we did against Dortmund when we're taking on Coventry in the Premier League. You can see here as well, the end of season review, we passed all the expectations for the 5-year plan. We actually managed to please the board in everything as well, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes in Football Manager, I feel like you get certain objectives that kind of clash with one another. Somehow we've managed to tick them all this year. Still only given a B+, mind you. Signing of the year went to Andy White. Not entirely surprising. I think Lloyd Weston deserves a special little mention as well. 5 goals, 11 assists. Really great player that we picked up for next to nothing. Obviously, in terms of Premier League form, we actually had the best goal difference, just lost out a couple of times in narrow games. Only 10 points away from Arsenal. I feel like that kind of deficit we can make up in one transfer window, to be honest. In terms of money made this year, it is an increase overall. Sponsorship, the most notable thing. Of course, that is more tied to our reputation, which sadly hasn't jumped up from 3.5 stars yet. I feel like that could still go up at the end of the year. Gavin Wallace won Young Player of the Season and Fans Player of the Year. Ajaria, like I mentioned, broke that record for most assists. He's also extended his record for most league appearances, and Andy White has come back to the club, and well, he's continued to extend the record that he already had for most league goals. He now has 95 to his name. And if you were wondering about the Wanderers' overall best 11, here it is in all its glory. Drink it in. Oh, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of very familiar faces there, isn't there? Board expectations for next year: challenge for the Europa League. Well, we're going to be in the Champions League, so I hope they're going to forgive me for that, and record a top-half Premier League finish. I'd like to think we can do a little better than that. Now, as I already mentioned, I am very much aware that right now, as I sit here in front of you, it's the start of February. FM25 is coming out in March. I normally take a little bit of a break before the new Football Manager comes out. Obviously, this year isn't really like any others, but with that in mind, I am fully aware that I need to be ready to switch to FM25 mode at, well, potentially relatively short notice. So it's with that in mind that next year I think is going to be the final year of this save game. 10 seasons will be a mighty great achievement to have done, and like I said, it is going to be for all the marbles. I want the Premier League, I want the Champions League. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit relieved that we won the FA Cup today, because at least I can tick that one off. As always, I really appreciate your support on the series. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you got to the end of this one. Next time out, transfer special. See you next time for that one. It's me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.